Treadmill Talks. Today we're going to talk about something that they actually don't teach you in the manosphere or the red pill these days. It's kind of a way for men to bypass hypergamy, or maybe bypass is the wrong word, maybe more like satisfy that part in the female's brain where she knows she's with an alpha, which I guess satisfies the hypergamy kind of thing, right? Before we get started, go down, hit that subscribe button, get this information out to more men. The goal is to help our brothers in these struggles. Share the video with everybody, get more people involved. There are lights at the end of the tunnel. Now, they actually did a book on this called Why Women Have Sex. And there's like a million reasons why. But basically, the long of it is, that book kind of tells you all the different ways that you can kind of Rubik's Cube yourself into what a woman wants in order to satisfy her brain, right? Now, obviously looks, money, status, the usual garbage, it's all there, right? Now, what they don't tell you is that there is such a thing called a contextual alpha, and this has its pros and cons, but it is also I don't want to call it a tool, but it's a useful tool when you're maybe just first starting out, or if you need to know what it kind of feels like to have a woman look up to you and respect you, kind of thing, right? Now, so there's like kind of the natural alpha who doesn't, okay, let me backtrack. The definition of a contextual alpha is somebody who is very competent and very confident in a certain field or area of expertise. So the best example of this is like the Denny's manager or the McDonald's manager. Now, the Denny's or the McDonald's manager, he could be like a 300-pound fat bastard, but because he is the manager of that store, he has the most kind of power in that store. He has to make sure the store is running properly. He gives people orders. He's the alpha in that small little bubble of that store. Now, what that translates to is the woman's brain is like, in this environment where the social status of the hierarchy here matters, she can actually build attraction to that 300-pound fat bastard over time because he has the highest position of power in that context. The reason why it's called contextual alpha is because it only works in that one little area, right? If you take that guy out of that McDonald's or that Denny's, he's back to like being a 1 out of 10 everywhere else, right? That's the problem. But in that environment though, he's the 10 out of 10. So you can use that to your advantage. Now, how this relates to men in general is how you can kind of make a girl fall for you over the long term. Let's say you're just let's say you just hate going to bars. Let's say you hate going to clubs. And let's say you're just like very conventionally unattractive. Who knows, man? Like, let's say you're just unfortunate. Let's say you're missing a leg from, I don't know, whatever, diabetes or something. The guy with the missing leg and diabetes, if he goes and he volunteers at not a soup kitchen, but like an old folks home of other people who had diabetes and they don't have legs either or something. And he's there. He's making sure all those old people have soup to eat every day. He's making sure they're taken care of, whatever. And one of the nurses sees how contextually alpha he is in that environment. She can build attraction towards him. Now, the problem with this is you don't get a lot of reference experiences doing it this way. This is so there's the guy. How do I word this? There's the guy that just wants to kind of get one girlfriend and settle down and not worry about any of this shit. You can use this method or this way of getting to know a woman to do that. The problem is, if you do that, you won't have a lot of experience with women in general. And then one day, let's say you lose your job as the McDonald's manager or the Denny's manager, or let's say she gets another job somewhere else, and now she got removed from that contextual environment. Now you're fucked. Now she doesn't get to see you being an alpha every single day anymore, right? So that's why it's much more important to be a natural, non-contextual alpha. Trust me, I hate the word alpha, but it's much more important to be the man in every environment, not just one environment, right? But it's a good place to start. Now, let me tell you, there is no field or activity where this doesn't work either. If you're a gamer, just be really good at games. Let's say if you're playing Valorant, just be like an immortal, ascendant, whatever Valorant player and attract the Valorant bitches, right? They're like, oh my God, he's so good, he's the best. Run an esports team. If you are the janitor of a Microsoft building, be the guy that has all the keys to the building. Be the guy that everyone has to call when there's a problem. Be the guy who's like, I have a problem. That's the guy. You're still a contextual alpha in a small bubble, right? It literally doesn't matter. Now, let's say another example. This I've done many times. Sometimes, if, let's say you meet a girl out at like a Starbucks. Let's say you don't like clubbing. For me, it's easier just to go clubbing or to bars, right? But let's say you meet a girl naturally somewhere and she's kind of on the fence about you. She doesn't know. Like, she's just like, he seemed pretty cool when we chatted, but I don't really know too much about him. And let's say after like the second date or the second hangout, and let's say you're not very naturally confident, right? What you can actually do is you can invite that woman into an environment or the environment where you're the god, right? Sports is a very good one. If you just love playing soccer for some reason, or let's say like music is massive, dude. Let's say you're a pianist or a guitar player, or you have a band. You invite her to your show, invite her to your soccer game, invite her to your sports event. Video games are a bit more difficult because you can't just invite her over to your house and get her to watch you to play games. That doesn't work because she wouldn't understand what she's looking at, right? So if you killed a whole team of 6 people, she wouldn't know that that's a very difficult thing to do. Whereas if you're playing soccer and you get the ball in the net and you had to dribble through like 20 people, that's visually very impressive kind of thing, right? So you want to bring her into the environment where you're the contextual alpha, and then her brain sees you being like the man, and then all of a sudden she builds attraction. It's a very good way to go about it. That's actually probably the most consistent thing I've done in my life to attract women long term. Is like you meet them out. Nowadays they call it bring her into your world or bring her into your frame or whatever. Basically, what I'm assuming they're talking about is just invite her to stuff where you're just really good at it. Now, the key is not to show off. That's not what you're trying to do. You're not trying to boast. It's just, okay, let me differentiate it for you. There are guys who, let's use cars as an example. There's the guys at the car meet. Let's say there's like 20 cars there. And you maybe have like a $40,000 car, and the guy at the top has like a $200,000 car. But you're the guy that actually manages the car meets. That's the guy you want to be. So you don't want to be the $200,000 Ferrari guy inviting your girl to a car meet to show her that you have the best car out of everybody. Because then the guy who manages the car meet is the one that everyone looks up to because he's doing all the work. That's the guy that's going to take your bitch, right? So it's not about boasting, or like it's like going to a soccer game and being like, I have the best cleats or the best shoes. It's like she doesn't care about that, right? She cares about your skill, right? Your mastery over a certain field. That's what she cares about. Basically, what I'm trying to get at here, in order to satisfy that small piece of hypergamy, your woman needs to know that you have mastery in a certain whatever it could be. She needs to understand the difficulty of the mastery and how respected you are because of that mastery in that field. Denny's manager, sports, musician, band, whatever. It literally doesn't matter. This is also critical to maintaining long-term relationship attraction for multiple reasons and multiple levels, right? So here's the other problem with that. You bring her to your soccer game and you're like a god and you scored 20 points or whatever. She takes you home, she like bangs you the next day how wet she is, right? She's like, oh my God, I'm with such a soccer Chad. Doesn't matter that you're like ugly as shit, right? Or like a 5'4" guy. She's with the alpha in that context, right? Problem is, finally, let's say you do get into a relationship, get into a marriage, get into some kind of long-term thing with her. Now all of a sudden you get lazy. Now you kind of stop being the Chad of the soccer team. Now you don't really go to as many games anymore. Now you don't really, or COVID can happen. I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to say COVID on YouTube. The pandemic happens. Now you can't play soccer anymore. Now they won't let you leave your house and play soccer anymore. Now you're in big trouble. So you got to be really careful with this whole contextual alpha thing, because if you do use that, then you basically the entire attraction of that woman is contextually based off of that small little thing. And you have to maintain that forever. You can maintain that while you build other things, but she has to constantly, in order to maintain the attraction over the long term, you have to almost kind of keep reminding her of who she's with by inviting her to those things where you're really good at, right? That's why you see some of these super degenerate like video game guys, like streamers, and they're just really, like, let's say they're just really good at Counter-Strike. They're just really good at Counter-Strike, and they play Counter-Strike 8 hours a day, not contingent on them leaving the house, right? But their girl is also into Counter-Strike. He's gonna maintain attraction forever as long as he keeps playing Counter-Strike, right? Now, the side bonus of this is something I learned later on, which is called passive dread, which maybe we'll save for another video on the deep dive of that. But basically, when you are a contextual alpha in a certain field, and other women also see that you are a contextual alpha in that field, now she has like 2 layers of her hypergamy being satisfied. Now you have pre-selection going as well. That's why whenever you, if you ever notice in general, whenever you enter a new hobby or a new community of some sort, there's always kind of this like pre-established hierarchy, and you always notice that the guys at the top seem to bang all the chicks. So it's fascinating because you see that literally everywhere. Any single community, every single, it's just the way it works, right? So like, you would think if you enter a community, let's say you go to the gym or you go to the club and you go to the same club every time. It's always the bouncers and the guy that owns the club that bangs everybody. The guy at the gym, the guy that lifts the most, or the guy who owns the gym, the guy who's most well-known and social, right? So it's like, what you would think logically, it would be like, there's 10 men and there's 10 women. Why doesn't everybody match up 1-to-1? Just not how it works. You wanna be like number 1 or number 2 in that small little contextual field, and those guys bang all the chicks. And you can, I guess that's where the premise of women only want the top 20% of men or whatever. But you can kind of make yourself a top 20% man by zooming down. So like, think about it in terms of zooming in and zooming out, right? If you are a business owner of a little office building and there's 8 employees there, you can zoom in as far as you want basically, right? There's 8 employees. There's like 3 guys and 5 women or whatever, and you're the owner. Those 5 women are gonna wanna fuck you because you've zoomed in so far, that little bubble of reality, you're the top 20% man. You zoom out a little bit, now it's like, okay, well, he makes $100,000 a year and he's somewhat attractive within this city block or whatever. But he has his face on a bus bench, so he's a little bit of a celebrity. He's still top 20% in that little city, right? You zoom out even farther, it's like, oh, he only makes $100,000 and there's a millionaire over in the city next to him. Now he bumped himself down below the 20%. Now he's not that special anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? So what you want to do, again, the more you zoom in to make yourself the top 20%, the more it's going to be based off of that small little zoom in that you did. But you can do that though. That's why there's not really anything stopping you from being a top 20% man. It's just how far down you have to zoom in order to achieve that result, right? And the farther you zoom in, You can pick whatever field you want. Doesn't matter. It literally does not matter, I'm telling you. You could be like, you can pick the most niche ass shit, man. You could pick like, I'm the best guy. I'm the best lawnmower guy. Like I mow everybody's lawns on our block. And then like, it's like the zoom in is like 7 houses on a block. And all the girls just see you mowing everybody's lawns. And you're like the lawnmower guy. That's all you need. That's literally all you need, man. It's like really not that complicated or not that difficult, right? But again, he has to be the lawnmower guy forever. So this is just a good way to meet women. It's a good way for them to build attraction towards you. But it's, I recommend that it's better to present yourself as a non-contextual alpha, where when you walk into a room, you just give off that vibe of, I don't know how to word it. It's like you're able to act the same no matter where you are. So like the guy that's the manager of the Denny's or the McDonald's, he's gonna act with a lot of authority in that store. If you put him into a soccer game, he's gonna be a little bitch or like a little beta. That doesn't mean you have to fake it. You have to know everything about soccer. It's more like you have to be secure in yourself and your position as a man to not need. It's almost like your woman has to know that you think of yourself as an alpha in every single scenario, rather than I'm only the man at the Denny's. Everywhere else, everyone walks all over me. That's not a good way to go about it. So you know how they say, the more money you make, the more problems you get, or comparison is the root of all suffering, but you do know what that is though exactly? Or like, the more you go to the gym and the better looking you get, your dating doesn't seem to get any easier. The reason why is because you're mentally, I guess they call it global marketplace value or whatever, GB, whatever the hell it is. Your global marketplace value is zooming out. So you're perpetually, no matter how much you improve or how much money you make, you're always putting yourself in the bottom 80% of men, because you're comparing yourself against the top 20 in that field. So you're a high school quarterback. You're the top dog in high school. You get all the bitches. You go to college football, you might not be the quarterback anymore, but you might still be the top 20%. You might still be like the running back or something. I don't know. I don't know the positions, right? But one of the cheerleaders will still adore you, right? You're out of college now. Now you're in minors or NFL or whatever. You're in the bottom 80% now. Now you're done. Now the contextual status that you had in high school and college no longer applies at the NFL level. So you leveled yourself up and accidentally screwed yourself out of a whole bunch of options of women, right? What you want to do, that's a real problem, by the way. Trust me, I've been through that too. What you want to do is you want to kind of be a contextual alpha in as many areas as possible. But here's the other problem too, though, that I didn't mention. But when you get to the NFL, even if you're like the top 40% of men or something in the NFL, the quality of woman, I mean, it depends on what your definition of quality is. The quality of woman that you can get is also significantly better than what you could have gotten in the as a high school quarterback, right? because the pool of women is expanding as well. So it's like, it's almost like you're constantly, it has like its own rat race, where you're always in this rat race of leveling up, trying to get better and better and better women, and then every other guy's doing the same shit. When you should have just settled with like your college sweetheart or whatever, or your high school sweetheart, right? And she's cute enough. So the best way to go about it, what if you go back in time and your high school or your college sweetheart, who saw you as a contextual alpha as the quarterback in high school, she sees you make the college team. Maybe not as a quarterback, but she sees you make the team. She sees that you made the NFL. Doesn't matter that you're like a guard or something, but you're still in the NFL. But she still remembers you back then as that high school quarterback. So you've increased your value as in the sexual marketplace. You've increased your value, but you plucked out a girl from when you were contextual, zoomed in all the way. You can't really go backwards. That's kind of the issue. So it's like, in my example, in my perspective, there's a lot of cute girls that I would like. I'm not going to give specific examples. There's a lot of cute chicks from like 5, 6, 7 years ago or whatever. But because I've leveled up so much, it would have been different if I settled down with one of them before I leveled up, and then they would have leveled up with me. But now it's like almost difficult to go back and pluck them because the disparity of value or the disparity of power is too great now. So it's like they would never feel happy or secure with that arrangement because my value is so much higher now, right? So I keep putting myself in that bottom 80% because I keep leveling up thinking it's going to get better when it never does get better. So it's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, man. So you want to, I guess what I'm trying to say in this video, if you're a younger dude or even an older dude, whatever, let's say you're the Denny's manager or the high school footballer, pluck out a girl that you would be happy with. A 5 out of 10, a 6 out of 10 on the global scale. In that little niche, she might be an 8 or a 9, right? You know how they say when you go to like Hawaii or Japan, your perception of female value changes because if you're around 9s and 10s all the time, you see just 9s and 10s all the time, their number drops to a 5. And now you're being really picky because there's so many options. But if you're at a Denny's and 5 of the chicks are 300 pounds and there's one chick that isn't fat, she's the 10. They have their own little contextual hierarchy too, right? But anyway, you pluck her and you just settle down with her. Then once you've got her in that contextual environment, she sees you as the alpha. You can grow, and she will never stop seeing you as that alpha. Do you know what I'm saying? That way you don't have to worry about plucking higher level girls later on, where you're never gonna be the top 20. The more you level up, you're never gonna be in the top 20. Now, like I said, this does have its pros and cons, right? If you're very inexperienced with women and you use the contextual alpha, not method, but an environment to attract a mate, you run a lot, you're putting a lot of eggs in that basket, right? Like my suggestion is if you do that to attract a woman, make sure you got other baskets going or other things that she can see you being confident in. Because if a global war happens or something like that, or like you get diabetes and you lose your leg, right? Now all of a sudden you can't play soccer anymore. She's out the door. She's gone. That's why I don't like when people say you should attract women with looks, money, or status, because all of those things can be taken away from you and then she's gone, right? Things that are completely out of you don't want to put yourself in a position where if something out of your control happens, your woman loses attraction for you. You don't want to do that. I think honestly, just to finish this video off, I think being a comedian or a online personality that's just really funny is probably the safest play in 2026. Just so few people are actually funny, and you can be funny and provide good vibes no matter what happens on a global scale. If you just like meet a chick and you're the funniest guy in the room, if you're at the Denny's and maybe you're not the manager, but you're the funniest guy there and you make everybody laugh and everybody gravitates to you because you're the good vibes funny guy. Not a clown, a funny dude. You can maintain that forever. I know a lot of guys that do that. They literally attracted their woman with comedy, and all they do is they make their woman laugh. Nobody can take that away from you. Anyway, that's the difference between a non-contextual alpha and a contextual alpha. Both have their pros and cons. But if you're really struggling to just even attract anybody whatsoever, that is one way that you can do it. Keep zooming in, zooming in, zooming in, zooming in, zooming in, until you have the least amount of people as possible, and you are the number one Chad in a janitor's closet where there's only 3 of you in there, right? Keep zooming in. Anyway, guys, see you in the next one.